It's been 11 years since I first played Pokemon Reborn, 3 years since I first beat it, and nearly 2 years since I started this series. Now, after covering Reborn for over 75 hours, it's time to bring the series to an end. Welcome to the finale. There aren't any more horrendous gauntlets to defeat, and no more despair to endure. We've seen everything there is to see in the game, except for 2 rooms in a secret place. But before that, let me mention the overall point of this final episode. It's meant to thank those that made this all possible, and there are many. First, we wouldn't even be at this point were it not for the Pokemon that overcame all challenges. You all know the Hall of Fame. It's meant to enshrine the Pokemon that made you champion, but it's so narrow in its scope. It only honors the Pokemon that defeated about 5 or 6 battles. Pokemon Reborn is a game that requires you to go so far beyond a team of only 6. So why should we have a Hall of Fame of only 6? I have a better idea. Let's do the Ultimate Hall of Fame. This is to honor all of the Pokemon that I used seriously throughout the game to defeat any and all of the challenges that we were faced with, no matter how short of a time they may have appeared on screen. And where better to start than with my starter, Froakie. From the outset, Froakie, eventually becoming Greninja, was a constantly reliable teammate. He may have seen more battles in the early game than later, but he was always a Pokemon I'd consider first for terrible situations. As well, Greninja got to be one of my Battle Pavilion masters. He was one of 3 that gave me the ability to defeat Battle Pavilion trainers and find all of the bosses there, thanks to his incredible versatility. Protean was a blast to use, and Greninja was a stellar starter. Now, we have a bunch of different Pokemon to talk about, which I've broken up into several categories. These kind of go in order of how often they appeared in the series, though it kind of also goes in rising thematic and personal connection. But by no means is this in order of usefulness. Every Pokemon was useful in some way. This first category is for early game Pokemon, or whose contributions only went so far. Let's start with the Pokemon that found themselves doing the most thankless task, feinting to beat one Pokemon, the 4 Trubbishes. Along with Glameow and Snover that suffered for dozens of attempts, these 6 saw the defeat of the horrible Zarina in Episode 2. Extra shout out to Snover for being half of the team to defeat my doppelganger in Episode 31. That brings us to that very Pokemon they defeated, Zarina. Though I tried to bring her in to fight Kiki, her performance there ended up not being her true claim to fame. It was more being my most embarrassing fight performance in the game, and among the most memorable when I fought against her. Carbink, a Pokemon mostly only used to handle the field effect puzzles at the Teknite Mountains, but worth a note nonetheless. Togekiss. This is interesting, as for you viewers, Togekiss never appeared on any team I used. What I didn't mention last episode is that he was on the original Evo Boost team with Greninja for purposes that ended up going nowhere. It's regrettable that I never found a good way to use Togekiss any other time in the game, leaving its claim to fame as the trillion times I battled against it. In regard to that same original Evo Boost team, we also had Blaziken. He also didn't pan out for the boss rush, but obviously Mega Blaziken should have had a place in this series somewhere. Speaking of boss rush teams not panning out, here's a shout out to most of the members of Triple Core, Alolan Sandslash, Pelipper, Kingdra, Gigalith, and Excadrill. Sandslash got to make one other appearance in a theme team fight, and I know that there's something there to the Triple Core idea. In a better player's hands, maybe there would have been. Some Pokemon, though, did get to see true use. Maybe not for very long, but they made their best effort. Delibird. Even though he only learned one move at level 25, his presence in the first 2 gyms was felt. Similar to that, Cherrim. Another Pokemon that we saw early on Cherim saw glory in defeating the third and final Pulse Tangrowth, illustrating so early on the incredible drama that Reborn battles so often possess. Sigilif, who again only found herself in a few gym fights such as Samson's, represents such good ideas, and my previous playthroughs did her better justice. The same can be said for Behem. Seems that I brought on new teammates a lot for major fighting type trainers. Though I didn't use Behem ever before, she was there to help me defeat Kiki, a tall task for any Pokemon. Throw, who like Sigilif, harkens back to even earlier in my time playing Reborn, my first playthrough, and yet I only used him in one battle. It was the battle I called the hardest single battle in the game though, so he etches his name onto the Hall of Fame. Finally, half of the team that helped me defeat Unfair Shiv in the Darkrai quest. Donphan, Mimikyu, and Murkrow. All three of them only saw that fight, at least in those evolutionary stages, but all three were strictly necessary to defeat a fight that is otherwise there to break your spirit. The Pokemon in this category may be easy for everyone to forget, but I kept them all to remember. They helped me reach this point, either winning the fights for me or helping me learn more about Pokemon battling. We now move on to the next category, what I call the puzzle pieces. They all made many appearances throughout the game, and though they never saw constant spots on my team, in the hardest and most painful battles, they were the pieces I needed to solve the puzzle. We continue from the previous three Pokemon, who starred solely in the Unfair Shiv fight, with two others that joined them. First, Pangoro. He saw several appearances throughout the game, both as a wild Pokemon wizard and with his first major battle against Luna. But Pangoro's biggest accomplishment is the defeat of Pulse Camerupt, and the aforementioned spot on the level 1 Shiv team as a Fear Pangoro. Along with him, Aegislash. The Sword and Shield has been very prolific ever since I just pulled her out of the box on a whim to whiff 6 explosions on Julia's first theme team. Postgame saw her take on Shiv as well, along with tons of theme teams, and most importantly, as the second member of the Battle Pavilion team alongside Greninja. Aegislash is an incredible Pokemon, and being part of the team more would have probably made the game easier for me. Stepping back a bit, we recognize a couple early game Pokemon who continued forward with me into more gym fights than you'd expect. Emolga and Jumpluff 1. Both of them arrived to battle Kiki, and together, they showed me how just the two of them could beat her 6 Pokemon. Though they didn't make it to help in late and post-game, they left their mark, and it cannot be forgotten. Again from earlier in the game, a huge heavy puzzle piece, Bastiodon. Sturdy Metal Burst, when I just needed something to get out of my way, including a fake god of Pokemon. He came back over and over to help me defeat the most ornery opponents, and though that wasn't as many times as other Pokemon, he helped in his own unique way. Speaking of unique, Shedinja. Boy, this Pokemon is busted. As we learned, when Shedinja was there to help me defeat Umbral Radimus, a fight that terrorized me on my previous playthrough in only 2 tries. Shedinja was critical to that fight, and was in so many others, as something that could just ruin enemies. Rhyperior. I brought in Rhyperior for what I thought would be only the Primal Gauntlet, but she came back several more times in the postgame after that, since Trick Room was such a staple of my strategy. Helping beat the Primal Gauntlet alone makes her a puzzle piece. Alakazam. Another Pokemon that appeared only in postgame, but god did he destroy as Mega Alakazam, taking down titanic opponents as one of the few Pokemon I ran in this game with a self-healing move. Rotom. Another Pokemon that saw key gym fights like Terra and Amaria, and several other fights from then on. Rotom was powerful, fast, and able to stand up to most anything. Finally, one last Pokemon in the puzzle piece category, who showed up so many times in the situations where instead of something fast and fragile, I needed a slow mattress. Hariyama. How often did I tag in Hariyama because I was using Trick Room and needed something that could clobber? It was a lot. Unfortunately, Hariyama was never a regular despite me almost always using Trick Room, but it's incredible how often I could fall back on him. The puzzle pieces were a great bunch that helped fill in the gaps of various teams all throughout the game. But now, we come to the next category, which I consider the graduated form of puzzle pieces. A set of Pokemon I call Special Specialists. These Pokemon maybe only saw one sequence in the game, or participated in only one team. However, their importance cannot be contested. These Pokemon are credited for the defeat of the hardest challenges in the game, and deserve strong commendation. We start with the Pokemon first inducted into my teams to take on the most infamous trial in my mind, Glass Hell. Galvantula. Sticky Web made Glass Hell possible in 6 tries. The appearances of Galvantula extend beyond only that gauntlet, but his arrival to that monstrous ordeal will be his greatest day. And the other on this list who joined him to crush all who stood before him, Aerodactyl. Mega Aerodactyl ended up never shining quite so brightly again after Glass Hell, but he essentially did the work of the entire first round by himself. His performance in the second hardest part of the story is without question. That brings us to those that participated in the hardest sequence of the game, even if they didn't end up being the ones who seize victory. Honchkrow. The Murkrow that helped defeat Unfair Shiv now evolved to become what was almost the killer of Pulse Arceus. Even though Honchkrow didn't make it to that pinnacle, the abuser of Sucker Punch deserves recognition for all of the pain we endured during the final battle with Lyn. Of course, Honchkrow gave the glory over to Lapras instead. Honchkrow passed its role as Parish Singer over to the Transport Pokemon, and it performed incredibly, felling some of the final Pokemon in the Pulse Arceus battle and being the one to defeat Pulse Arceus itself. But Lapras couldn't get there without the help of its other teammates, such as the one who should have beaten the entire first round, Hawlucha. I learned later that Hawlucha sweeping the entire first round is completely doable. If Hawlucha had more HP, then it could have Swords Danced once, and Anamnestic Terra would have been nearly an afterthought, instead of being responsible for half of the losses at the final boss. Hawlucha was always the perfect Pokemon for that battle, wielded by an imperfect trainer. Where Hawlucha was the tool to destroy the first round of Lyn's final boss, Typhlosion was the key to the second. For the entire game, I dismissed Eruption as a viable move. Then Typhlosion showed me the truth, and the second round against Lyn went from disaster to controlled. Every Pokemon has something that no other does, and Typhlosion had the means to bring me to the final round. But throughout the 3 rounds, there was another Pokemon that constantly assisted, and whose ability to put enemies to sleep was critical. Amoonguss. Extending beyond just the Lyn gauntlet, the Shroom was always destined a spot on my team again after how it performed against Xerneas in my previous file, and it was the glue for the team to defeat Lyn. But Lyn was not the only final boss, of course. We had to fight Anna too, who used the worst field effect in the game, along with teams that I could have never overcome with any team I had constructed the entire game. And yet, Anna was defeated almost entirely by Shuckle. What Shuckle did still defies all odds. As the second Pokemon to defeat Anomaly Arceus in this series, it is obvious there is not and never will be a Pokemon that can do what he does. Shuckle, though, needed help too, and there was one Pokemon who helped him even begin what he was best at, Dusclops. Even though she was used for literally one Pokemon, the opening Lugia in the Anna final boss, Dusclops could get rid of it and enable Shuckle to handle the rest. Once again, Dusclops deserves special thanks for being a huge part of my previous file. Dusclops wasn't the only one who had to help with just a single Pokemon in the final boss fight with Anna, as it would have been even worse for Shuckle to win had it not been for Banette. As a Mega Banette, my favorite cheese move Destiny Bond became an uncontested wildcard, and though Banette was intended for the greatness of felling the final Anomaly Arceus, he still used that wild card to make victory attainable. But past all of the gauntlets of the story, one more challenge, or rather two, stood above them all. And 5 Pokemon arrived for the first time to overcome it. The Extreme Evo Boost team. Eevee, Alolan Ninetales, Primal Kyogre, Primal Groudon, and Mega Mewtwo X. We had an entire episode dedicated to the feat of these 5, and I still cannot believe that the boss rushes are challenges I can say I've completed. It is all thanks to them. We've just spoken a lot about what Pokemon were victorious over the sternest challenges in the game, but like I said, it's not about the quality of the results. There are several Pokemon that I want to recognize now as champions in my heart. They didn't necessarily achieve such momentous things, but they were incredibly important to me in a way that I can't really describe. We just spoke about the colossal achievement of surmounting the boss rushes, but it should have been the Burning Field team that earned that distinction for the first boss rush. Charizard, Salazzle, Jumpluff 2, and Sawsbuck, who were drafted specifically for that purpose. They fought, struggled, and bled to prove they had what it took. They had the means to go the distance, and all that held them back from the glory they deserved was my own lack of will. If I had the iron will to grind the thousands of attempts needed, then the Burning Field team is every bit of boss rush champions as the Evo Boost team. Then, we have several Pokemon who spent so much time with us in the early parts of the series, who were at major battles, yet they haven't been seen in so long. Meowstic. Remember her? She was on my team practically constantly since the beginning of the game. She was on the team that was victorious over Solaris at the Fiore Gauntlets. She was in nearly every gym battle from the start until Ciel. And then around level 80, she quietly retired. Meowstic is the definition of reliable, a stalwart teammate for much of this game. Similar to her is Zebstrika. Zeb has been a regular in this team, showing up in gym fights for a long time, unique in that he could use physical electric attacks. Maybe there's still a place he can shine. Ever since Galvantula appeared for Glass Hell, Zeb has been resting, a well-deserved rest for all that he did. Speaking of Glass Hell, that brings me to Arcanine. The achievements of Arcanine are nothing to sneeze at, least of all being her inclusion at Glass Hell as one of the critical fire sweepers. She appeared in many fights before that too, but after Glass Hell, Arcanine became a rare sight for this series. She did an excellent job, not only in this playthrough, but previous ones as well, and how that statement applies even more to Heracross. I swear, Heracross was a constant in my previous playthrough, but somehow she didn't get the same attention this time. I never even used her Mega Evolution, despite it being one of my most relied on before. That doesn't mean she didn't do anything incredible. She was also at Glass Hell, and helped defeat Solaris for the last time. She even went on to conquer Victory Road with me, but then didn't end up joining the Elite Four team, and from then on, only made some minor appearances. Heracross, no matter what, is one of the all-time greats of Reborn, a fixture of my teams past and present. But of course, if there was ever one champion in my heart, one Pokemon that deserved that title in my mind, it was the Master of Fury, Kricketune. Even if he could not stand up to the ferocity of late-game Reborn, he has a soft spot in my heart for all time. He was the original Galvantula, helping us defeat the Fiore Gauntlet and defeated an overpowered Shiftry and its entire clan by himself. Though both Fury Cutter and eventually Kricketune himself left our midst, the Fury would and always will live on. And now we come to the best of the best. The Pokemon that are doubtless my most seasoned fighters who have overcome a vast array of adversity. Starting with the last member of the Evo Boost team, Talonflame. From the very first appearance in the series, Talonflame proved he was special. He joined us when I was about to battle Samson again, a gym leader I was terrified of, who had a reputation of being nearly impassable, and Talonflame destroyed him almost single-handedly. He went on to continuously make appearances throughout this game, being the third member of my Battle Pavilion team, and then suffered through learning how to beat the first boss rush on 2 different teams, as well as boss rush 2. When it came to Samson though, after Talonflame had wiped the floor with him, we thought, what if we didn't have Talonflame? Well, that's when we brought in Mawile. Base Mawile with Intimidate offered a powerful and strategic solution to most any physical fighter, and she was on the team before and of course after. Then she became Mega Mawile, and holy shit, there was nothing that stood in her way. She enabled me to defeat Lyn once and for all, and has been in nearly every major battle since the Elite Four. I'm so glad I included her on my team much sooner than my previous file. But one Pokemon that I included in both playthroughs, an astounding amount, is Camerupt. My slow tub of death has been helping me beat Reborn for years, showing up so early on in the game and riding it out the entire time. Camerupt and Mega Camerupt may not be the most meta options anyone would pick, but he's my pick. From the early game right until the end, Camerupt is the beast of this team. Then we have the unlikely pick, the latecomer to the team, but damn it, Drampa has been a powerhouse. Joining us at the Elite Four, a Pokemon that I barely used in my previous file, the Elder Dragon has proven he can take care of anything that the rest of my team fumbled on. And if he couldn't, he'd just get more angry and do it anyway. Then we have the Pokemon who I have treated the worst, and yet he has given me unbelievable results. Houndoom. Destiny Bond is a hell of a drug, and it has made Houndoom an absolute staple for my team. If there was anything that wouldn't get out of the way, he'd make it get out of the way. From Solaris' Garchomp on Mount Pyrus, to defeating Pulse Arceus in both the Champion Lyn fight in episode 20, to felling Pulse Arceus once in Anna's final battle, Houndoom has been here for everything. He sacrificed himself over and over, and his sacrifices made me and him champions. But one trait nearly every Pokemon I used had, especially as the game wore on further and further, is that they were never fast enough. Some were downright slow on purpose. Slow like Slowbro. For 2 playthroughs, Slowbro let these slow Pokemon work magic, once again doing the hard work of setting up Trick Room to almost always faint afterwards. But Slowbro is the only Pokemon I have used that was in every battle with Pulse Arceus, the Champion Lyn fight, and both final bosses. Slowbro was there and was particularly key to defeating Lyn thanks to her Regenerator ability. Slowbro made everything I did possible, and I would not have made it to the endgame and postgame without her. And now, there's only one Pokemon left to honor. You all know who it is. It's the one, the only, MVP, clutch fucking master, Vanillux. He didn't need to be in the final battles to earn this spot as the GOAT of this series. He did so simply by doing insane feats that no other Pokemon did nearly as often. His ability to pull off wins was so uncanny and happened so frequently that someone in the comments said that there should have been a Clutch Master counter. I was very disappointed in myself for not thinking of that from the beginning, but I could make up for it in a small way. I went and found every time Vanillux was the Clutch Master in the series and came to a final total. Vanillux was the Clutch Master 80 times. 80 different instances where instead of getting an expected unfavorable result, Vanillux instead said, "Fuck that, I have a better idea. I'll just win instead." 80 times in this series, and an uncountable number of times before, Vanillux is the Pokemon I think of when I look back on Pokemon Reborn. He and all the others made the feats seen in this series possible. They are all champions. This is their Hall of Fame. With our friends recognized, it's now time to recognize the ones that actually made this possible. After all, This game had to be made for this series to exist at all. For over 10 years, this game was in development, and the developers who were part of it grew just like the team of Pokemon we used in this series. More people came onto the team to bring this project to the completion it deserved, and just like some of the Pokemon I just honored, some of the devs also left the project before the end. I'm going to honor everyone I can, especially a select few in that aforementioned secret room. First, I'm going to shout out the people who assisted the game, not necessarily in developing it, but have contributed to it nonetheless. For the most part, I refer to the people who lent their musical talent to Reborn and created a soundtrack together that captures not only the feeling of Reborn, but of Pokemon fan games at large, and the series as a whole. O Colosso, who with Amethyst created the final Reborn title theme, which you heard at the beginning of the video and several times in this series, as well as every time you started the game. Dragon Tamer 795, who with Ame created the Barrel Ward tracks, which no matter how many times I've played this game, still deliver a haunting feeling that can't be matched. Rich Viola, who also is co-credited with Ame to create the Pokemon Center theme of this game, something that honestly sticks in your head and gives a calming feeling that is unique to this game. Darius and Dafor Lynx, who created the composition Inner Peace for the battles with Kiki and Victoria. A somber but driving song that yet again worms its way into your ear and never leaves. Of course, Amethyst herself has created all of the Reborn specific music, which gives the city a feeling that no other Pokemon game is going to have. Walking through all of the wards of the city, especially before it is fixed, will evoke years worth of memories for me for all time. Last, but absolutely not least, Glitch X City. What can I say that I haven't already said? Well, why not say it again? Glitch X City has contributed so much to this game with her music that I believe it has shaped what new Pokemon fan games are going to sound like in the future. The franchise that we love is given new life and wonder through the work of Glitch X City and everyone who remixes the tracks of Pokemon. Her work cannot be ignored, no matter how hard you try. If you play Reborn, you're going to be stopped in your tracks at some point in this game and go, "This music is amazing." I say again, thank you so much for lending your work to Amethyst's project. I have one more person outside the actual developers to thank. Not surprisingly, I've already thanked him once before, but we're doing it again. Big JRA. I have now gone through the whole game and made this series, and it would not have been nearly as good or complete without his guide helping me. His work is staggering, and the fact he continues to update his guide with changes from the ongoing releases of the game is incredible. Thank you again. Your passion is incredibly evident. I say this to all those involved with these projects. I truly hope you hold on to your passions and see your dreams through to reality. That brings me to the last group of people we need to recognize, the developers themselves. But we now come back to that secret that we opened up back in episode 21, and I asked you to forget about it at the time. It's finally time to unveil the last rooms of the game inside of the Grand Hall when you interact with the director computer in the basement to open this door on the right. Through this door is the Grand Hall Secret Room, a room that warns you with a wordy sign that everything past this point is non-canon. Welcome to the Developer Room, inside of which are avatars for the active developers at the time of the initial 19.0 release of Reborn. These avatars are used by each developer to convey their roles and thoughts about the Reborn project and also bring us one last diversion. Now, these developers are actually the ones, like I said, that were active at the time Reborn was released. We're first going to head to the back and enter one last room where several headstones sit. It was in this room that I obtained the final catching charm 15 episodes ago. This room is the resting place for developers that worked on Reborn at some point, but left the project before it was finished. I'm going to say this now before we go any further. I have only respect and commendation for the developers I'm going to refer to today. That being said, I'm not personally acquainted with any of them, so my knowledge of what they did with the project, etc., is not complete by any means. I have had some concerns about how this episode is going to be received since, this time, these aren't characters in a game. These are real people, so I feel a bit hesitant to paraphrase what they say, while simply quoting everyone verbatim also doesn't feel right. All of this is to say, I mean no offense to anyone I speak about if I get things wrong. It's simply my position of being outsider to this group. I'm here to honor the ones behind all this. In that vein, I'll try to put as much of the developer's words on the screen to read, to try not to pass heartfelt words through another person's voice. We turn to the headstones here, which actually don't have anything special about each of the developers to say, so sadly I cannot give a lot of info about what these developers did. What most of these tombstones do, though, is offer you that diversion I mentioned. Let's first recognize those that do not do so. Dashi, Aodin, Starry Night, Riku, The Archivist, Gu Horden. Okay, enough hype. What happens when you approach the second tombstone from the top left, which reads Azuri? You feel a presence, and you're asked if you want to face it. What else would happen? A battle begins. But you see, the developers, they make the rules. They don't have to follow them. So these aren't battles like you've seen the entire game. No, these are about to get a bit spicy. Like Azuri's fight, which starts with a Mega Garchomp. You mean a Garchomp that Mega evolved? No, a Mega Garchomp. It was sent out like that. But once again, two fated rivals meet, and you all know what Houndoom is going to do against Garchomp like always. Alright Garchomp, what do you got? Diamond Storm! Wait, Garchomp can't learn Diamond Storm. No, it can't. And a Mega Garchomp can't hold a Life Orb. And yet it just did both of those things. Uh-oh. So we took down the Mega, but out to my Slowbro next is Giratina. Slowbro barely lived a critical Hex, Trick Room starts, now we have to make use of it fast. An Ice Beam does very little to Giratina, who then finishes off Slowbro with Spatial Rend. Two Blizzards from Vanillix take down the Ghost Dragon as he took one Rend, but we now have to face Suicune. A Freeze Dry only takes a third as it fires back Steam Eruption. Yeah, it should be quite clear, these Pokemon aren't normal. Oh, don't worry, it gets better. Drampa is able to shout down the Suicune after surviving a Freeze Dry, time running out on the Trick Room, as Typhlosion will be next. A Typhlosion who pissed me off when I went to Camerupt and found it was holding an air balloon. Great. Well, I need to Rock Slide that one, and of course it didn't flinch, so it fired Diamond Storm back. Camerupt lived it quite well, but now Trick Room faded, and I made a poor play of not firing the Z move, such that when a second Diamond Storm didn't kill Camerupt, Typhlosion got a double defense up, and Earthquake failed to kill. And of course when Camerupt fainted and another chip of hail would beat it, no more hail. We just Sucker Punch Typhlosion, and it screws me over using the same tech I used in the final Lyn battle. It used Nature Power to become Tri-Attack, which does not let Sucker Punch work, and then it froze Mawile. She literally never thawed. Then, when Drampa came back to somehow live a Tri-Attack and beat the starter, his Life Orb stops him in his tracks. So these fights can get nasty. Here's what I decided to do. There are actually 22 fights to show in this developer room. I don't think anyone really wants or needs me to dissect 22 optional developer bosses, so I'm going to employ the same protocol as the theme teams. I'm going to cover the first and last attempts, just so we keep this sane. I decided to do this even before this first fight took 11 tries. So now Slowbro is up front to Trick Room and die to Mega Garchomp, Vanillix cleans up. Typhlosion loses its balloon to Rock Slide, doesn't kill Camerupt, and dies to Earth Power since its special defense isn't raised. We beat Giratina with 2 Blizzards, then we taunt the incoming Suicune before Vanillix faints so that it doesn't try Calm Minding in front of Houndoom. Just attack him with Steam Eruption, please. Thank you. By this time, the Trick Room has run out, and we have 2 more. Next up, to my nearly dead Camerupt, is Absol. Mega Absol. Now, maybe I can't count, but aren't you limited to 1 Mega Evolution per fight? You are. The devs? They don't need to listen to such paltry nonsense. Mega Evolution 2 defeats Camerupt, who was there to force Absol out so that I could put Mawile in and play rough with it after comfortably surviving its Meteor Mash. That led to the last enemy, Jumpluff, who I swear is the luckiest fucking asshole in this game. You see how my reset counter is at 10? It would have been at 4 had this damn thing didn't get max round sleep on Drampa 7 fucking times in a row. Almost every time that happened, Drampa was killed by 2 acrobatics, and then Mawile was also put to sleep and never awoke fast enough to do anything. But I said, almost every time, because actually, this is that 7th time. And unlike the 6 identical times before that, when I was screaming at Drampa to get up, this Jumpluff decided to use shift gear a 2nd time. Yeah, again, cool illegal move, but because of that extra setup turn, it launched 1 acrobatics instead of 2, and it was not enough to kill Drampa, who finally felt the fury of being put to sleep for so damn long and incinerated that damn puffball with flamethrower. Holy shit, that was massively irritating. I know Drampa is old, but fucking hell, every time he slept was max rounds? I know it wasn't the Jumpluff doing something illegal, because Mawile woke up from sleep before max rounds. Doesn't bode well when that was the first fight in the developer room. Oh, by the way, every Pokemon in this place have over maximum stats. They are all in at least Pulse 2s. You heard me. At least Pulse 2. Let me show you what that menacing statement means when we face the next dev, Dan. He has 1 Pokemon. That Pokemon is a level 100 Rowlet named Grumpy. Grumpy uses Rage every turn, and thanks to getting a lucky burn on the first flamethrower, Houndoom was able to beat this single bird on our first try after hitting it with 6 flamethrowers. It took that many because Grumpy had 2,500 EVs in HP and the defensive stats. So yeah, around 15 times more EVs than are allowed. Do you think that's the only time that will happen? Let's move on to the next developer, MDE. MDE returns to having 6 Pokemon, starting with Dedenne, who proceeded to live 2 flamethrowers to kill Houndoom. We punch it out with Mawile, only to get Mega Camerupt next. And Slowbro was not the right call here. It has a Power Herb to fire off Solar Beam in 1 turn and wipe her out. Sadly, though regular Camerupt is faster than Mega Camerupt normally, Pulse 2 Mega Camerupt is faster and beats mine. My team crumbles after Mawile throws a poor Sucker Punch and Vanillix's Blizzard only causes Camerupt to faint after it killed Vanillix and then tired out from Hail. That left Drampa to fend off Mega Altaria. We lose a lot to finding out that the range on Dedenne with Houndoom is awful, so we start with my Camerupt instead, who is crit by Moonblast. But he has Anger Point, so Earthquake kills Dedenne. Next up is one of the least egregious Pokemon today, Espeon, who can't use its best attacks of Psystrike and Moongeist Beam on Houndoom and falls to 2 Dark Pulses. Then comes horrible belly drumming Azumarill, who survives a freeze dry thanks to an extra berry, and I bail out Vanillix to let Slowbro eat a maxed out Aqua Jet and live. Then I switch to Drampa, and that makes Sucker Punch whiff, while the Hail actually manages to remove the rest of Azumarill's HP. So there are 2 Megas in this fight. Why not 3? Mega Heracross. You think that Houndoom should just burn it up, but it isn't powerful enough. Heracross, though, is plenty powerful, so Destiny Bond. 2 Pokemon with 1 Bullet Seed, but we are still Trick Roomless. We put it up now against Mega Altaria, but it Dragon Danced once and is now using Extreme Speed, so Trick Room is pointless now. But it retreats to the other Mega when Mawile comes out. Mawile only did 2/3 to Mega Camerupt, and now my Camerupt can go first against it and finish it off, leaving only the Mega that used to be flying, but isn't now. Vanillix can withstand a base power extreme speed to blow away the Altaria and win the third dev boss fight. On we go to Kanaya, the same one that we saw in-game for the starter egg quest. She also leads with Mega Garchomp, and yet again a Destiny Bond is its kryptonite. First Mega Garchomp, now Mega Gardevoir. A crit boom burst destroys Slowbro before Trick Room started. Beautiful. We barely take it down with Iron Head under fire from a Moongeist beam, and now we have to fight an Arcanine. Camerupt can also avoid death to V-Create by 2 HP and launch Special Tectonic Rage to bury the Fire Dog. Here comes another Mega Absol again, who then uses its own Z move, Black Hole Eclipse, on Drampa. If you can believe it, Drampa survives it! His Scream escapes the black hole and breaks Absol, but his Life Orb breaks him. Now Kanaya sends out Lycanroc. That's going to be it. Holy shit, it missed Meteor Mash! Oh, Earth Power didn't kill. And then it beat Camerupt with Accelerock, but then didn't use that on Mawile. We beat it with Sucker Punch, but we are going to fall short right at the end. Mega Blaziken. 4 Megas in one fight. Mawile and Vanillix fail to hurt the last enemy. After losing again when we find Gardevoir can kill Slowbro however it wants, we start this time with Slowbro up front, dodging a Diamond Storm and starting Trick Room there. 2 Lucky Blizzards can cut down the opening Mega without the help of Hail, then Gardevoir and Arcanine are both beaten the same way, except we didn't lose HP. Lycanroc is splintered with Iron Head, Blaziken takes a lot from Earthquake but beats Camerupt, so Drampa yells at it, and with Trick Room gone, we have to beat a Mega Absol last. But that's a matchup we already saw once. Mawile at full HP easily lives Meteor Mash and kills Absol. Even in the face of 4 Megas, we still won in only 3 attempts. Oh, are Megas not good enough? Then how about this? We start the next against Leah. She leads with Breloom. Bot. Oh no. Slowbro is up front, which I don't like actually, but I learned that this Breloom bot has only one attack, Focus Punch. But it also has Spore, Leech Seed, and Substitute. That is complete, unapproachable hell. The best possible scenario I could ever get happens here, where Slowbro managed to wake up to Trick Room, then die fast to this abomination, so that Houndoom can take advantage of Focus Punch to Destiny Bond and die. 1 nightmare out of the way, with 2 Pokemon lost. Out next is Mega Mawile. Drampa can actually stand there and survive it because it doesn't have Play Rough, only Leech Life, and despite it gaining all that HP back, 2 Flamethrowers kills Mawile. But then came the worst Pokemon for my team to fight right now, Araquanid. No Rock, no Flying, no Electric. Drampa is one of the only ones still slower than it, and 1 Hyper Voice only does a bit over half as he's washed away by Surf. Mawile is actually also slower too, and nails a Play Rough to take it down. We had Trick Room last us into one more turn, where a Mega Manectric came out to be Tech Rage down. And then here's Milotic. Mawile can only take half its HP with a Swords Dance Sucker Punch, and Vanillix leaves with only a third of his HP and a burn to beat it with Freeze Dry. And yet, we have to still beat a Porygon Z, whose Z conversions for a Quint boost. I tried to taunt it but was too late. Vanillix and Camerupt are nothing to that. So guess how bad this fight is? You know, the one that started with a Breloom bot that massacres my team? Well, let me tell you, killing that thing with anything but Destiny Bond is unbelievably hard. What's more, I don't want to use Destiny Bond so quickly. I want to use it on one of the other awful things coming after. Milotic and Porygon Z are both so horrible to take down, and let me paint the picture of the Trick Room we got in that first attempt. That was the best case scenario. Breloom could easily wait around, and by the time it kills Slowbro, we may have 1 turn of Trick Room left. I went through everything, trying to find something that beats this developer team. Almost all of my energy going into finding ways to kill Breloom bot. What I ended up with on attempt 23 was a little bit of everything I use in this series. Up front, we have Hawlucha, and after that, we have the original Evo Boost team. Eevee, Alolan Ninetales, Greninja, and Mega Blaziken. With Houndoom still here because damn it, I'm still going to need Destiny Bond. So here's what we do. Hawlucha is up front. She's holding a Lumberry. Spore hits her, she eats it, now she has Unburden. High jump kick from Hawlucha does a third to Breloom Bot, who has leftovers. But she is now faster than it and hits it again. Now she gets put back to sleep and will be leech seeded next turn. The only way we win this fight is to wake up immediately and finish it with one more high jump kick. Nothing else will work. If we don't finish it, that's fine. It goes for substitute on that turn, so it fails, and then we finish it off. Provided we don't miss high jump kick once in those 4 attacks. Then came our Aquanid, and you'd think a mega fast Hawlucha with acrobatics would kill the spider, and trust me, I wish with my entire soul that it would be true, but it's not. It lives and kills Hawlucha. So instead, I go to Mega Blaziken, who I ended up realizing throughout these attempts that he cannot do any sweeping in this fight. One Stone Edge hits the spider to do enough to it, Blaziken dies to Surf. Back to Hawlucha, who can live in Aqua Jet and kill with acrobatics. Without Camerupt, now Mega Manectric seems horrible. We do what we can by starting Aurora Veil, Ninetales feints to Blue Flare plus Burn after putting it up, Eevee somehow scares Manectric away for Mega Mawile, Evo boosts, Baton passes to Greninja, while Mawile Sword stances, then survive a Leech Life to hit it with 2 Surfs and somehow not get Sucker Punch there. This gives me the play I wanted. Grass Knot the Milotic, one-shot. But I wanted to stay on Grass for Manectric, thinking it would dampen its electric attack. Grass Knot only did half, then it used Ice Beam. Crap, then Surf maybe kept me alive there. It's looking bad, as I now have to deal with the incredibly fast Mega, and my team is not going to be faster. But when Eevee is beaten by 2 consecutive Ice Beams, I realize, is that Mega holding a choice item? It is! Ice Beam fires at Houndoom and does very little, so we kill it with Flamethrower. Then, Porygon Z. You may think this is bad, we're on choiced Houndoom who could use Destiny Bond to win. Well, why worry? Hawlucha is faster and kills it with 1 high jump kick. Dear God, that was hard to win. That could reasonably be the hardest single fight in the game maybe. I know I've said something like that like 7 different episodes, but anything with a Breloom bot in it is maniacal. Time to move over to the next tombstone to fight Kurosune. They start with Alolan Ninetales, and all I can do is Flamethrower it twice after it set up the inevitable Aurora Veil. A Rapidash is showing up next, and Slowbro should be okay there. No, she's not. Bolt Strike. But she lived with 6! Trick Room up, but Hail takes her down. A physical Tectonic Rage can't kill through the Veil, but Rapidash can't kill Camerupt either, as Rapidash feints to incremental damage. Mega Mawile again, and this time Sucker Punch is here, and my Camel is decked. Then a Flamethrower from Drampa does a quarter, he's gone. Houndoom shouldn't have come out in a Trick Room, and my Mawile only got through with 1 Sucker Punch of damage thanks to an Ironhead flinch. Next is a pretty uncommon Pokemon in this series, Braviary, which Vanillux can outspeed and almost kill with Blizzard, but its superpower smashes him, and only his Hail can get the last laugh. But then we meet a frustrating end against Lilligant. It uses a Power Herb for an instant Geomancy, but Play Rough nearly kills it. But it had the one move it could use to make Sucker Punch fail and steal back the fight. Spore. Mawile falls asleep, and Giga Drain beats Mawile. That Lilligant was a menace for the next attempts too. It could completely halt my momentum and make itself unkillable. We got to attempt 4, where I was really tired of Aurora Veil making it impossible to get knockouts, so Mawile entered up front and Brick broke Ninetales until it fainted. Slowbro was fortunate enough to survive Bolt Strike again to Trick Room, where it was then passed to Camerupt, who had an easy time raging away the horse. Braviary unfortunately survived Blizzard to kill Vanillix again, leaving Mawile to finish it off. Now we get another Mawile competition, and mine won again thanks to a lucky flinch. She didn't get away without a painful sucker punch though, and now we have to kill Lilligant quickly before Trick Room is gone. Sadly, a lava plume doesn't do it, making me wish Camerupt had his eruption from Anna's final boss fight. He's put to sleep, but instead of Geomancy, it went for the kill on Camerupt, which ended up taking out Mawile instead. This made Trick Room give out, and Houndoom could arrive and take out Lilligant to face the last opponent, Sylveon. Damn it, just as Mawile fainted. But thanks to having Drampa still around after a sleeping Camerupt is boom bursted, Houndoom can sacrifice his ears as well and give me the last KO for the win. The next developer is Mike. May he yet find redemption. Here's a Mega Charizard Y. Well, 2 Dark Pulses doesn't kill it, and its clanging scales it borrowed from Como-O don't kill in one hit, so Destiny Bond was out there too. Sadly, Camerupt resisting Heat Wave does not let him survive for Rock Slide. And just when you think Sucker Punch, Roost. And just when you saw Roost, Sucker Punch kills next turn anyway. We are then able to start a Trick Room, even while a Flygon used Precipice Blades on Slowbro, but she missed the all-important Blizzard and died to Diamond Storm. Then when Vanillix came in to scrub away Flygon, Mamoswine. It comes down to a draw between Vanillix and Mamoswine when my 2 Blizzards leave Mamoswine on the tiniest speck of HP and Diamond Storm kills Vanillix, Life Orb beating the Mammoth. We dodge another Precipice Blades from Excadrill to kill it with 2 Flamethrowers. Geez, you all like those legendary moves a bit, don't you? Then a Stoutland shows up to take my last 2 Trick Room turns, being hit with Iron Head twice, landing its own superpower for half of Mawile's HP. It's then the returning Flygon, which runs roughshod over the rest of my party with Groudon's signature attack. Slowbro now starts up front on the next attempt to use Trick Room immediately, but Surf Under the Sun is weak. This time though, Charizard's least favorite type finds him thanks to Camerupt. Flygon this time did not have a chance against Vanillix, and Mamoswine is easily crushed with Iron Head. Mike's last unknown, Palossand, blasts Vanillix with a Moongeist Beam, but doesn't do half, and 2 Blizzards makes the Sandcastle disappear. Stoutland has the durability to withstand a Tectonic Rage to beat Camerupt, but Sucker Punch decks it, and last is Excadrill. By this point, Trick Room left, and so Destiny Bond brings us victory on the second attempt. This was the last gravestone that sprung the spirit of a developer on you, the top left and bottom right headstones not doing so. However, there are a couple more less talkative opponents remaining, such as when you interact with the piece of paper at the top of the room that questions why more room wasn't made for other headstones. Anyway, now comes the fight against Koyo. She starts with Toxapex, and even when it steals Volcanion Steam Eruption, it cannot kill Houndoom in one hit for Destiny Bond. But then, it cut me a break, threw down some Toxic Spikes second turn, then killed Houndoom on the next one, so Destiny Bond worked anyway. Unfortunately, it goes very bad when Slowbro is one-shot by Lurantis, so Mawile has to get really lucky dodging one Leaf Storm to barely beat it. But then Koyo makes it difficult for a shift motor like me, and her next Pokemon is only known by its nickname, Mimi. Didn't you know? That's Mega Altaria! Anyway, I lose the rest of that attempt. It took 3 more losses before I found my way around this fight, starting with Vanillix taunting but somehow being too slow to stop Toxic Spikes anyway. Then 2 Freeze Dries and Hail Hits being enough to beat it after he survived 2 Steam Eruptions. Next out is Volcarona, who is fortunately distracted by Quiver Dance long enough for Camerupt to smush the Moth with Continental Crush. Crocodile came next, who I went and got Greninja expressly for. 2 Surfs beats its 1 Sacred Sword. Altaria is back, for some reason not being called Mimi in the shift mode text now, and we can get a Trick Room going. But yet again it can use Dragon Dance for extreme speed to ignore the Trick Room, killing Slowbro only after taking a third from Ice Beam. With Vanillix too low, Mawile can go in and Iron Head the Mega down for only some damage to herself, leading to another nicknamed mystery Pokemon, Aria. That's really the Lurantis again. But did I say mystery? That's actually the name of her Zoroark, which is why the nickname for Altaria wasn't put up this time. Amazingly, not only on Zoroark, but also Lurantis, Mawile used Iron Head and flinched both opponents such that they never attacked again. Fluke? Yes. Now, before we speak to the first active developer, we have to battle one more... Well, I don't know if this is actually a developer. It's more of a test train. From this sinister graphic on the wall. Test train Mr. Meow Mix wants to battle, and this horrifying sight sends out Imposter Ditto. Vanillix being the first opponent kind of sucks actually. That makes for a really awful mirror match. I taunt and light screen while it tries hurting me with Blizzard, but of course when I leave to Mawile it freezes her. Then we find out what this thing's other Pokemon is. It's another Imposter Ditto, so it switches away once the current matchup is bad. The new Ditto Iron Heads down my Mawile while she was again frozen forever. Trying to use Houndoom was no use, as it switched to copy my Flash Fire. Just when I thought I could go to Greninja and kill it when it didn't switch there, it flinched him, making him faint before doing anything. But then it makes a poor choice, switching away from my Camerupt to also become Camerupt, then die to Earthquake. Dittorupt number 2 though is faster and kills mine in return. But my Houndoom remained to Destiny Bond away the imposter. One try, but it was only 2 Pokemon. Way easier than the Elias theme team doing the same thing. Finally, it's time to talk to the active devs, who all have quite a bit to say. We start closest to the entrance to the dev room with this dev named Autumn. She formally welcomes us to the dev room, the place where they all hang out and relax. Each dev more or less has options to chat and to fight. Usually, each dev has multiple topics to chat about, mostly around who they are, what they did for the project, and what Reborn meant to them. Autumn answers the first of those questions by mentioning that she also used the handle Inuki, something that apparently the farthest back fans of Reborn would know. She says that the guy 2 tiles to the north is her best friend, and the 2 of them discovered Reborn at the same time. As for her role in the development of the game, she created animations for moves in battle, including many of the Z moves. She put her whole heart into every move she completed. Let me mention here, as she does, that the original animations Reborn had are ones that came from the shared Pokemon development library called Essentials. Those weren't great. Now, the animations in this game are all amazing. Autumn being the first one we thank for that. She was also responsible for filling out the field effect library and many various tasks throughout the game. As for how she feels about Reborn, it starts with the fact that she only found it by coincidence, searching through Pokemon online servers and finding one that had the word Reborn in it, like her favorite anime. That began a 10+ year journey with this community. Now, before we challenge her to a duel, you may notice that besides the cancel option, there's a cancel option that's derogatory. If you click that, she will seem displeased. Then she asks what my favorite Pokemon is. My favorite Pokemon? Let me think. How about Breloom Bot? She says it's removed from the game now. Were it so easy. But now comes more violence, which Autumn prefaces that the developers in this room had a tournament against each other. She states that she came dead last. But that's okay. She found a way to level the playing field. A cool sword. A cool... Wait. Oh no. Crystal fucking Aegislash. That's right. When you thought that it was a one-off quest enemy, suddenly it's here and in your chest. She also adds doubles and a field effect to this dawning nightmare, Rainbow Field. Houndoom and Slowbro are up front. I have no other option. If Houndoom doesn't Destiny Bond that damn sword, we lose. Incredibly, that's what we get. Ribombi decided to use an instant Geomancy while Crystal Slash killed Houndoom with Diamond Storm, thankfully not also Slowbro, so the sword is broken and Trick Room is on. The next Pokemon Autumn sends out is Necrozma, and why am I not surprised? It's Ultra Necrozma. Mawile was able to Ironhead down the issue of Ribombee, but Ice Beam is far from enough for Necrozma. Somehow, though, one attack drop on Necrozma made it do nearly nothing to Mawile. Too bad I can't focus it, because Autumn sent out her own Mega Mawile. Slowbro got no more chances at Necrozma, killed by Sucker Punch, and her Mawile lived Mind's Iron Head. Then, finally, the move with the most badass name in the game. Light that burns the sky! It also looks sick, but besides killing Rainbow Field, it wasn't successful. My Mawile is able to barely Sucker Punch down the other, and Vanillix arrived to annihilate Necrozma. Her final two Pokemon are Mega Deontay and Togekiss, neither of which are happy to be here. Deontay is killed with one Iron Head, and though Togekiss survived a blizzard to beat Mawile, she can't beat Vanillix with Dazzling Gleam, and Autumn was beaten on the first try, all thanks to my never-ending cheese. Talk now to her best friend beside her, who is Ikaru. If that name is familiar, it's because he is who the spirit I mentioned at Victory Road is named after. Ikaru talks a bit of himself in that Reborn has the ability, in his case, to reconnect him to a friend he hadn't seen in 10 years. He speaks highly of Autumn as well, how the two of them had found the Reborn community through a misunderstanding as I mentioned. Ikaru is one of the first developers who mentioned specifics about the Reborn server. That is, it was actually where all of the characters in this game came from. I'm going to talk about this subject a lot more a bit later, so that it's all in one place, but suffice to say, if I refer to the Reborn League in here, it's in reference to the formative years of the community, with the understanding that I am in no position to say I know anything about how the server or league worked. But why this relates to Ikaru relates also to the spirits at Victory Road. The spirits are representative of all of the people that beat the original league, Ikaru being the second one. Ikaru was also involved in the game through various mapping, but more prominently as a playtester, being someone who played each version of the game earliest as they arrived. He reflects how amazing it is what this community has managed to do, connecting all these people in a way that would otherwise never happen. Timing is everything. He says that without meeting Autumn, he wouldn't be here. If he hadn't signed up for the original Reborn League, he wouldn't be here. But now that he and I are here, it's time to battle. Before that though, he asks me, did I get what I wanted out of my adventure? Yeah, I can say I have, and a lot more. Ikaru says this was a journey of over 10 years in the making here in this community. Let's have a low-stakes battle to wind down. A Mega Gallade to start, and Destiny Bond wins again. Then Slowbro comes out to a Lunala who decimates him with a Moongeist Beam. Vanillix is hit by its Z-powered version of that move just to take away its Shadow Shield with Hail, then Sucker Punch from Mawile puts the bat on the ground. Meloetta is next, Pirouette that is, and Greninja was not faster. Also, it has V-Create, so Mawile is obliterated. Finally, Camerupt is run through with a sword. Attempt 6, we still throw Houndoom to the dogs, then we bring out Alolan Ninetales. I ended up using Ninetales a ton throughout this developer room. She draws Meloetta out here now, and all she can do is set up Aurora Veil. That gives Slowbro the chance to Trick Room, while Lunala took the dancer's place. She takes the Z move so that no one else will have to, then Mawile kills Lunala again. Next up is Cresselia, something that I found is here to try walling Mawile. However, I can set up Swords Dances on it while it tries Scythe Striking. I'm maxed out, Sucker Punch lays out both it and the incoming Miss Magius. That ghost type was sacking itself to run out my Trick Room, so Meloetta could come back and bowl down Mawile with extreme speed. Except it can't! Mawile survived and Ironhead docks it straight out of the fight. The last opponent though is a Mega Salamence, and what I found is that running out of Trick Room or not, it could destroy me with extreme speed. So I put a Focus Sash on Vanillix and he won the fight. Not the worst fight, but these fights do require quite a bit of cheap strategy. For me. Now we talk to Smeargletail. For the record, his actual name is Sam. Being that his in-game sprite is a Smeargle, it's only natural that his role in the game was something to do with the way the game looked. He handled animations for the game, but later on actually became the maker of 2 quests. One that he confirms was the Zera Aura quest. He was also responsible for the Ferris wheel, the giant dragon statue at the top of Charis Mountain, and many more animations. He also created the egg icons. When asked how he became involved with Reborn, he said he saw a top 10 video of Pokemon fan games in 2014, a video that will prove all but impossible to find again. It mentioned Reborn, and here he is. He says that the people on this team feel like the closest people in his life now. The fight with Smeargle begins very quickly now, led by himself. That himself shifts gears once, then baton passes to Zygarde. An extreme speed from that dog kills my dog, and when Ninetales goes out, the Sandslash from that same region is switched in. When I put up Veil and its swords dances, I pretty much accept my defeat. I can still bail out Ninetales to get Slowbro into Trick Room, who then does 2/3 of the pincushion before Earthquake kills Slowbro. Fortunately, nothing it did was priority, so Camerupt beats it, only for another nickname to thwart my shift mode. Nyx, another Lunala, is out here. Mawile was my best option, but one Sucker Punch of course doesn't kill the legendary through Shadow Shield, and that's because it was neither using Shadow Shield nor a Lunala. It was a Zoroark again. Apparently I should just use nicknames as a tell for Zoroark. She dies to Blue Flare, Camerupt buries the Zoroark with Tectonic Rage, I put up a Veil with Ninetales in front of real Lunala firing a Z move to thankfully hit her Focus Sash, but Lunala overpowers Vanillix after Trick Room fades, Veil and my chance to win dying with it. After one more loss, I decided to start the battle with Hawlucha, who kicks Smeargle in the face after he tried to use Spore to put Hawlucha to sleep, but he ate a Lumberry and is now mega fast. Too bad Smeargle has a Focus Sash and Prankster to re-sleep her, but he flees with 1 HP to Lunala, which is actually Zoroark. Hawlucha woke immediately in Acrobatics for half, then the other half, leading now to Zygarde. We tank half of his HP too before Outrage beats Hawlucha. Locked into Outrage, Ninetales can whiff that and set up Aurora Veil. Yet again though, Sandslash is quick to bum off the hail, so Ninetales must switch to Slowbro. Trick Room, quickly to Camerupt, 1 Lava Plume dead, real Lunala now. Give up Vanillix to break Shadow Shield and get its Z-move gone, Sucker Punch. Sawsbuck is the next one to arrive, and it withstands a Lava Plume to then kill Camerupt with Power Whip, but another Sucker Punch beats the buck. With Hail going and Zygarde coming, Ninetales has a guaranteed hit of Blizzard. It uses extreme speed, but only does half, then it dies to Blizzard. All that's left is Smeargle with 1 HP and a Hailstorm. It spores Mawile as its last act. Smeargletail is done. Thank you for your animations and your goofy in-game character. The next dev, though, is not so much a developer for Reborn. He's an intern. And what he says during his chat isn't the most understandable, unless perhaps it is, if you played the game he is the developer for. That game would be Pokemon Rejuvenation, and this is Jan, its creator. What he does say about Reborn is that before it, he was aimless, until he saw the work that Ame put into this game. From that point, he applied himself to his own game and world, and soon, his internship will be over. So, you want to battle Jan? No. No you don't. Why not? Well, Jan uses a field effect too, like Autumn. Only it isn't simple Rainbow Field. It's Glitch Field. He brings out a Mega Bayonet right off the bat, and Houndoom's best option to it is useless. His other best option, Dying, is still perfectly suited, as he's hit with Gunk Shot and dies. Bayonet follows suit, but is replaced by Blacephalon. Ninetales starts a Veil, which is the only reason Slowbro survives an explosion on the next turn to Trick Room. Sadly, she's still fainted to Hail, and when my terribly hobbled Mawile comes out, it meets a Dusk Noir she cannot hurt. Vanillux does a clean switch in during its blizzard, but is so far from killing that ghost with his own, dying to Psy Strikes now. And Earthquake barely beats Dusk Noir, but Camerupt and Mawile combined can almost not damage the next opponent. Giratina. Upon seeing that, I knew there was only one answer to this abominable fight. One loss later because I forgot to put Protect on Slowbro for Explosion, Bayonet and Houndoom fall together, Veil goes up, Blacephalon blows up, and then Dusk Noir is here. Trick Room starts, but Jan does something interesting. Dusk Noir used Plasma Fists, which causes Glitch Field to be overwritten by Electric Terrain for a few turns. It matters not, for when Slowbro faints, it's time for his glorious return. Shuckle. The shell smashing begins, and even when Dusk Noir hits him with Plasma Fists, it doesn't matter. Shuckle's defenses are rising fast, and the boost of Plasma Fists on Electric Terrain doesn't do anything to make Dusk Noir's chances to win improve. Shuckle drops a Toxic on Dusk Noir, then takes a nap with Maximum Bulk. When he awakens, he destroys the weakened ghost. An enemy that Shuckle is very familiar with returns, Giratina, and one hidden power nearly kills it as it only Thunderwaves Shuckle, a minor inconvenience. Even its Z move, Never-Ending Nightmare, barely registers for pain, and it failed to realize that using Defog on Shuckle would give him evasion. Now Giratina is dead, and yet another foe from the same final boss round emerges. Mega Gengar. Thunder, Blizzard, please. 2 hidden powers annihilates the contemptible ghost, and finally, a Corsola. If this Corsola named Carrie has any special meaning, I don't know. It doesn't have any extra illegal stats, and it falls to hidden powers like all the rest. Even you, Jan, should know. Don't fuckle with Shuckle. Of course, this fight, as Jan then alludes, may only be a taster of even greater horror and suffering in another world of Pokemon. Hey, this next guy looks familiar. It's Marcello, who finally gets to stop selling lemonade when he's in here. He first makes it clear that he's not really a child or even short. He's being bullied by the other developers. He says that he's worked on Reborn his entire adult life, 7 years at the time of the release of this game. As for what he did in that time, he started out programming, which though he admits a lot of that code was redone, he was the one who got the online modes to work. He programmed for one of the rewrites for the AI, again saying that others like Cass and Perry took over that work, and he was happy to see them run with his initial work. But what he got to do near the end was create a quest, the Celebi quest. He says he did little random parts throughout the game, but says that to keep it short, that should be a story for another time. As for Reborn's meaning to him, he says most of his best friends came from this dev team or because of the game. He ends with the advice that you shouldn't beat yourself up if you struggle with things you want to do. Surround yourself with good people. These things will help you be the best person you want to be. It's time for battle, and Marcello admits he's not great at Pokemon. But when you're a dev, why not just cheat and make a team with utter unfair bullshit? Oh boy. That team leads with an Articuno, and at least you don't use a field effect. Houndoom dodging an Aeroblast gives him a no damage KO, so far so good. There's a Marshadow creeping out next. No Trick Room already means the best bet is to go to Mawile to intimidate the definite physical attacker, then bash it with Play Rough. Mawile still took half from its high jump kick, but we kill with Play Rough. The second I see Executor will be next, I know that means the tall one, but Ninetales is really suited to it. After setting up Veil and getting hit with a blue flare that burned, she remarkably still stood, then blasted the tree dragon away with one blizzard. A Mega Beedrill is the next problem, and Houndoom's Flamethrower leaves it on tiny HP, only for it to gain some back with a lethal leech life. But a Sucker Punch is able to make up that difference, and now we have to fight Minior. This is definitely the time for Trick Room, as it Shell Smashes and White Herbs for a bunch of attack power and speed. But that speed is useless now, and it then missed a Diamond Storm. Because of this, Slowbro lives one of those, then beats it with 3 Ice Beams. Last, a Darkrai. One Play Rough, I win. Sorry, Marcello. Unfair bullshit is all I know. To the right now is Perry. Perry came onto the team after seeing someone else playing Reborn, following along with development progress. He then heard that Cass, when she created the battle tower for the nightclub, wasn't planning to make the battle factory because of time constraints. He took that as a challenge, and made the whole thing as a mod. Then, Cass asked if he'd be okay if it was added to the main game, then invited him to the team. That was when Perry got to unlock the game's potential by optimizing the shit out of it. He was also the force behind online doubles, along with a ton of bug fixes and new field notes. Perry then offers you a choice when you want to battle him, just as Amaria did. Singles or doubles. Unlike Amaria, his team does not change between formats, so we're only going to see this fight in singles, thank you. Before you battle, he also mentions how he was the one who created the function to automatically set your Pokemon levels to 100 for fights like these. Meanwhile, the enemy team Pokemon are actually just statically set to 100, or in the case of Perry, 101. Thanks. It's been a damn long time since we fought an opponent with a level deficiency, but hopefully one level isn't that big of a deal. An Archeops up front means Destiny Bond. Ninetales is met by Volcarona next, who then proceeds to miss Ninetales twice with Blue Flare. Okay, I'll switch to Slowbro now. It allows her to Trick Room by Quiver Dancing, but I'm dumb and don't have Surf back on Slowbro after putting Protect in its place. Then, absolute misery befalls me. When Camerupt came in, took a crit Bug Buzz, lived, maxed out attack from Anger Point, then missed Rock Slide. Oh, my entire team maybe could get past that Volcarona, but who cares? We're instead going to go forward to the 5th attempt, where Mawile survives 1,000 arrows from Archeops thanks to Intimidate, and beats it with Iron Head. Ninetales and Slowbro both fainted Volcarona next, but with Surf, it almost died already. One Sucker Punch does it in, but now here's Primarina. Mawile is much more important to this fight, so Vanillix takes half from the seal with Freeze Dry before being crit by Boom Burst. Iron Head bashes the stupid Primarina, and now we fight Aegislash. Not a crystal one, thank God. Before, I found that Physical Tectonic Rage, though higher power than Special, was not killing, but this attempt, Special Tech Rage kills Aegislash in one hit. Mega Sceptile now, please don't miss Play Rough. Yes, last one, but no Trick Room remains for Marshadow. Good thing Houndoom hasn't died yet, and is faster than Marshadow. Another developer boss defeated. Down from Perry, sitting with her Zorua, is Vulpes. Vulpes joined Reborn's dev team to be an animator, though found her 3D animating chops not easily translatable to 2D sprites. She says when she found out that Ame was looking for a new animator, she almost backed out of contention. Staying with it though has been one of her best decisions. She says the others in this room have done so much for her in her life outside of Reborn too, all thanks to not backing away from the chance. Of all the animations she did, her favorite is Genesis Supernova, one she made all the unique graphics for. By telling us this, she then remembers to do something. Now, instead of only one battle, Vulpes now has a second battle to pick from, one that will show off some of the animations she made. We'll start with that team, one she says is quite a bit easier than her actual developer team, though she asks another question beforehand. Which do I think is more vast? Time or space? I pick space, and because of that, the battle will take place on Starlight Arena. Unfortunately, despite her saying this is an easier team, it starts with a Primarina and I had Mawile up front. What's good is that Mawile lived its Sparkling Aria to Iron Head and Sucker Punch combo it out. A Green Bile Oricorio meets Ninetales, whose Revelation dances, though cool looking, let Ninetales use Veil and bring it down by 2/3 before she fainted. Right before it faints though, it goes for Psychic Terrain. Now the stars fade and my Sucker Punch won't be an option, but Oricorio fainted. Then comes the time Pokemon when I picked Space, Dialga. Trick Room has to get up now, and it does as Slowbro is beaten by Pollen Puffs, but then I'm flabbergasted when a Physical Tech Rage does only half to it. Roar of Time destroys Camerupt, but Play Rough gets the job done. Out next comes a really cool looking Silvally that I have the strong suspicion is Fairy type. One Iron Head and it's out. Then a Palisand who almost died to one Sucker Punch but lived for a liquidation. Mawile lives that! Sucker Punch 2, last Pokemon, Trick Room remains, Vanillux vs. Toucannon. Blizzard brings it to a Hail Chip worth of HP, Beak Blast does not kill Vanillux. Nice, though considering she mentioned Genesis Supernova, I'm surprised there wasn't a Mew on that team. But now it's time for the developer team, and by the way, the time and space choice was to pick either Starlight Arena or Fairy Tale Field. So yeah, only picking Starlight. The developer team though? It's a lot harder. Mega Mawile leads to my still Mawile, who I didn't really want up front anymore. Especially when she's outsped and killed by a Blue Flare. What kind of a Mawile uses Blue Flare? The one that isn't one. It's Zoroark again. And it took Houndoom's Flamethrower to then Black Hole Eclipse him into spaghetti. Ninetales shows up to Veil and Gleam the Illusionist, but now we get to deal with another Silvally. This time, it looks like this. Another sick design, but my god did this thing suck to fight. We don't see it for very long, as it U-turns Slowbro to pass to Lapras instead, Trick Room beginning. That's not a good matchup now. It uses 2 Spatial Rens to kill Slowbro, who did very little to it, then it shrugged off a Tech Rage to kill Camerupt. Vanillux barely lives a Steam Eruption to use 2 Freeze Dries to force it down, but the Silvally is back. A Silvally that proved to be Steel type despite looking like fire. So that's a loss. The first of 10. Attempt 11 now has Hawlucha up front to Zorowile. Having a field effect makes Unburden easy, and one high jump kick kills it. Now Hawlucha gets to do something very few Pokemon do. Outspeed a Noivern. It's really too bad that one Acrobatics doesn't kill. Spatial Ren kills Hawlucha after it lost half, and then Ninetales comes in. Now here's the problem with Silvally. It shows up over and over, intimidates every time it switches in, often switches out, and only stays still when all the things that could kill it are dead. The rest of Vulpese's team are really good at killing those threats. Once again, Veil to Trick Room gets us Lapras again, but look who's back. Rhyperior. I have to hope that, despite Slowbro resisting, Lapras doesn't pick Steam Eruption as she switches in. Spatial Rend is fine, and we have Rhyperior for Continental Crush, and Lapras is out of the way. Silvally comes back, only to U-turn away against Slowbro for real Mega Mawile now. Slowbro can't do anything there, but my Mawile, intimidating that one, can, especially when it missed Meteor Mash. 2 Iron Heads take it down, back to Silvally again. This is what sucks. I want to go to Rhyperior now, but Intimidate makes it no longer a kill. Instead, Ninetales appears to Veil again, die to it this time, and since Trick Room is gone, it's time for Houndoom to take it down. Nope! Switch to her last Pokemon, regular Ninetales. Flamethrower gets flash fired, now I need to leave again. Then, again way beyond my understanding, Ninetales threw a Seed Bomb at Houndoom, which landed squarely on Rhyperior. Somehow, it didn't do a lot, but an incredibly clutch Blue Flare survival is followed by a terribly timed burn, which lets Ninetales stay comfortably alive. When Houndoom returns, we then somehow both trade Dark Pulses, which fells the Fox first. But remember, we never killed Noivern. But Sucker Punch with Starlight Arena gets a Fairy secondary type, destroying the dragon. Had only Silvally been left, it would probably have been impossible for me to win, since Houndoom couldn't Destiny Bond before. Now he can return and get that damn Silvally. Hop on over to the other side of the wall now to meet Azzy. She came into the team later than most, simply by asking Ame if she needed help with things on the game. She was the party behind making all of the dialogue for the characters in the nightclub, which, damn, that's a lot of text. Take it from me, I loved reading through all those. She says she loves stories, and the story of Reborn was one that really means a lot to her. Right into her battle now. She starts with a Klefki versus my Houndoom, a familiar sight. A light screen impedes me, Houndoom loses half his HP to Sunsteel Strike, but he takes out the keychain. And another developer wanted to use Primarina. Slowbro lives through its Giga Drain to Trick Room, but does little else. But Mawile also falls when an Iron Head fails to kill, and Steam Eruption succeeds to kill. And then that damn light screen kept it alive through Freeze Dry. Quickly gave up that try to move ahead to try number 7. Still beat Klefki the same way, but now I want Destiny Bond, which we do after a Safeguard in Aurora Vale. Ninetales ended up living a turn extra though, then Houndoom came out to remove the circus animal. And then I put Slowbro out, and in came Breloom Bot. Autumn, you said! This one doesn't kill Slowbro with a Power Whip through Vale, so Trick Room starts, but god damn it again with this thing! It spores and whips Slowbro to finish her, but massively importantly, Camerup's special tech rage kills that bastard. Then came a pain in the ass you wouldn't expect. Explode. This thing hurts. But thanks to Vale, Heracross is able to survive, though she was worse in Trick Room, and kill it with close combat. Azzy's Sylveon is no match for Iron Head, and with Trick Room lasting 2 more turns, her Shaman could not beat both Camerupt and Mawile, the latter hitting it with her head again for a victory. We're coming close to the end now. The only opponents remaining are all in this corner here. We start with this girl, who is someone I said we would hear her name again, after the Pavilion boss rundown. Krim. Krim starts by gushing how grateful she is to be in this room for a game she's been playing or involved with for half her life. She joined the team again by simply asking Ame, who was glad to have her. Through this, she met many of her closest friends. Her role was primarily in new sprite work, but she also got into working on full quests, also being a major player in the Celebi quest, specifically for the character sprites and maps. She also worked on the Darkrai Pulse, Hypno, and Camerupt sprites and fights, and the maps they entailed. So it's you who made me suffer. She made many more major sprites for the game, as well as the Shaman and Tau Trio quests. The majority of her sprite work was in redoing Gen 6 and 7 sprites, the ones that never got official sprites. She's very grateful to Ame for being able to help out and do so many different things. Then you'll choose to fight Krim, the architect behind much of the Darkrai quest, and she says she thinks she's still awful at Pokemon. So she found a way to fix that. A big heckin' sword. God fucking damn it, another Crystal Aegislash. Side note I need to make now, both of the dev teams today that have Crystal Aegislash only do so after you fight it in the story. So there are less bullshit unfair fights if you came here before that. Too bad for me. Again, there's only one way out of this. Houndoom. Krim also uses her giant sword and doubles with a field effect, Starlight, and Manaphy joins the Aegislash of extra pain. And it is fortunate that Manaphy chose to Geomancy, so it was Aegislash who killed Houndoom, and all of its 870 base stats get away from me. But my god, this team did not let up just after the sword is gone. Next is a Kyurem, who thanks to living Ironhead from Mawile with a pixel, both of my side are killed. Yeah, that Manaphy is also a massive problem, having 3 special attack stages now. Ninetales breeze on the Kyurem to beat it, but Camerupt's Tech Rage only took half from Manaphy, who then wiped out Camerupt. Then a Delphox appears, and Vanillix and Ninetales are unable to beat either one of them. And that was before I learned what the true horror was on that team. Krim decides to come wide and wreck your shit. Only the fight with Leah was worse than hers today in terms of attempts taken. Here we are at attempt 18, and I swear not much has really gotten better. I have to maintain the same 2 frontrunners, because otherwise, Manaphy kills Houndoom, and I am not dealing with Crystal Aegislash another way. But one of my champions in my heart has made another appearance. Zebstrika. Him specifically because I need physical Gigavolt Havoc. Meanwhile, this epic-looking Thundercloud Mega Altaria shows up now, and this thing really sucks. It is slower than Zeb, meaning it gets to attack with Precipice Blades and Trick Room, which actually doesn't always kill him, just sometimes. But when it doesn't, it means that if Slowbro also hit Manaphy with Psychic, then we guarantee kill the Manaphy with Gigavolt. I want to use Zeb for more, but he gets wasted by Altaria while Slowbro will be good to fall after hurting the incoming Kyurem. But in this attempt, only Zebstrika went down, and now I bring in Mawile to Ironhead one of the two opponents. However, Kyurem needs to be hurt to die to that. I'm wishing that Slowbro could have fainted so that my Aegislash could come in and we bash them both, because now Kyurem died to her and Mawile got burned by Sacred Fire. Then comes the real problem. Alolan Vulpix. Vulpix? Yes, not a Ninetales, a fucking Vulpix, who someone decided to give these stats! 2,500 HP and special attack EVs? 7,000 total? What the fuck? Yeah, so that thing shrugs off Ironhead from Mawile and Aegislash. You need to hit it probably 3 times with that move to kill it. I try in vain to stop Altaria with Ice Beam and Swords Dance to fix the burn on Mawile, but both of my side faint. The battle is nearly entirely over. I have Greninja and Aegislash left. I want to kill Altaria, but it is imperative I get rid of Vulpix as soon as possible. I put Protect on Greninja here in order to save him for the Delphox, but Aegislash won't... Holy shit! He did half to Vulpix, then dodged Precipice Blades, and made Vulpix flinch! When we Ironhead Vulpix again, it actually faints. Then only Aegislash is killed by Sacred Fire, and Greninja's extra sensory managed to take down the Altaria. But like I said, he came here for one thing. The last Pokemon, Delphox. A matchup that has also happened so many times this series, particularly in the fights with the person that Delphox is named after. I also needed Protect on Greninja for one more thing. Running out Trick Room. Thank goodness it ran out right then, and now Surf got a critical hit. I have no idea if that was necessary, but holy shit am I glad I don't have to find out. That was hellish. One hyper illegal Pokemon on that team to go with the insane custom Aegislash, and the rest of them not dead weight by any means. I got so lucky winning that on that attempt. Now, that would be Cass there. But before we speak to her, there's this Delcatty behind her. Here's the thing. This I don't think is a developer, though I apologize if she is. This is Kira, and despite not having anything human to say, when you try to pet it, she instead attacks you. Then you are faced with the most fucked up insanity in this entire game. The moment she sends out a Purloin, you know that this is going to be bad. Because it and 4 other members of that team have illegal stats again. They're not as high as the Vulpix, but they're damn high. They put Pulse 2 to shame. Anyway, Purloin starts by doing a 1-2 punch with Fake Out and Knock Off and killing Houndoom. Cool. Slowbro then gets similarly knocked and crit to die before Trick Room started. When Mawile attempted to stop just one pre-evolved little shit destroying me, a second one was switched in with U-turn. Fennekin. Playrough did a third to that. Foolishly, I didn't Sucker Punch. Mawile dies to Searing Shot. Camerupt can barely live a Psy Strike to Earthquake down one enemy, only for Purloin to return. I don't really want to do more of this. Oh, something to know, since I won't otherwise show it. I use a berry to reduce damage from normal attacks on Hawlucha in order to unburden and be faster than the Purloin. It was still faster than an unburdened Hawlucha. You'd think with a nightmare this unfair it would take me way more attempts, but somehow this only took 4 tries. Another returning member of the final Anna Boss team, Mega Bayonet, was my solution to Purloin, who otherwise makes Trick Room impossible to use. Instead, we Prankster Destiny Bond it down after it knocked off my Ghost. But an Uber Eevee is out now to Slowbro, who crunches her for half while Trick Room was initiated. A quarter is taken from it with Psychic before Slowbro faints, then Hariyama is back to pummel the normal type before it could try to Evo Boost. At the reappearance of Fennekin, Camerupt gets in here and crits the little monster down with Tectonic Rage. Now comes Glameow, who sucker punches Hariyama weakly before being demolished by close combat as well. Now for the fairest Pokemon on that team, Mega Absol and a Pulse 2. It doesn't even sucker punch, fainting to one more close combat. But one last pain in the ass arrives, Skitty, who fakes out my defense down Hariyama for almost the rest of his HP, then sucker punches him out. Then I go and make the dumbest of plays. Instead of using Houndoom right away when Trick Room left, I went to Donphan, another unlikely returner. But the damn cat is only using Cosmic Power in front of him, and by the time it's ready to attack Donphan, he used all his endeavors. Never mind the fact that its attack for Donphan was Drain Punch, which did shit all. Then I tried growling to Skitty, which almost proved to be my undoing. When I finally put Houndoom in front of it, its Drain Punch, with 2 attack stages down, didn't kill Houndoom now. By sheer coincidence, just by the fact that the Skitty could steal Cosmic Power, it decided to do it in front of Camerupt long enough that I was able to switch Houndoom back in and avoid fainting then to use Destiny Bond and get this fucking cat away from me. Okay, that sucked. Let's just move on. After a post-game of fake Castbot, real Castbot, and real Cass, now we speak to real Cass. Cass arrived on Ame's doorstep one day and asked if she needed help with Reborn. Ame accepted and said Cass could do some animations. After one animation, she actually moved in with Ame and developed the game in ways other than animations. She then began to take on more and more tasks all over the map. File size reduction, nightclub team building, hence why she's so prominent there. Then began her optimization phase. Despite her younger self never imagining so, she became a coder primarily, and optimization was her game, and the game that most other fan games now enjoy. Her work has been propagated to fan games outside of the Reborn circle, making the niche even better than ever. I can tell you from experience, the difference in performance quality before episode 19.0 and after is night and day. You used to hope that there wouldn't be rain in the overworld, because the game slowed down to molasses. Never again, thanks to Cass. As for what Reborn means to Cass, she admits that it was life-changing for her, literally taking her from a worse real life to a better one, all thanks to a fan game. She says herself that people don't take fan games seriously, but that doesn't mean that they aren't meaningful. Stay open to things, she concludes. You never know where they're going to take you. She says it's what led her to moving in with Ame, an incredible decision for her, saying the way Ame cares about the Reborn community is infectious. That's all you're going to get out of Cass, other than the hands she's about to throw. Now Cass's team is way stronger than the half team we saw during the Meloetta quest. She leads with her Alolan Ninetales, Grown, which we beat in 2 flamethrowers. That leads to the very Pokemon she sought in that quest, Pirouette Meloetta. But the moment Slowbro came out to Trick Room, it U-turns instead, taking half from Slowbro and sending in Curveball number 1. What the hell? Did we just start playing Pokemon Infinite Fusion? Might as well have. In front of you now is what the game calls a Glaceon, but the custom sprite that fuses it with a Mismagius is not for show. You may as well call this Mismagian. And yes, it is Ice and Ghost type. That is actually a supreme pain, as I'll explain. By the way, it also has 675 base stats, so nearly an uber legendary on a Glaceon. Once Slowbro faints, we find that Mega Mawile has to Ironhead this thing twice to beat it, losing 3/4 of her health to do it. Then, even with a Trick Room and Steel type, Mawile still faints to extreme speed from Meloetta returning. It then crits Houndoom to kill him with the same move. Horribly, I lose Drampa too thanks to it surviving a Hyper Voice, and Vanillix finally beats it after living in extreme speed. That's when Trick Room ran out. And here's Curveball number 2. The true demon appears. Her ultimate form. Meech, the Chinchino. The ultra done-up sprite will take you quite off guard, as well as its stats and types. It is now normal fairy and goes from 470 base stats to 565, 125 in attack. By the way, it still has Skill Link and very different moves, like Bone Rush, Rock Blast, Icicle Spear, and Water Shuriken. There goes attempt number 1, and 5 others joined it, mostly for the problem of Mismagian. You see, I want to Brick Break the Aurora Veil that Ninetales puts up, but no matter what I did, Brick Break was never allowed, because Cass would always switch the Mismagian in to whiff it. It makes it near impossible to take down these opponents quickly, so they can just dismantle you way faster. On attempt 7, it goes worse than usual when Houndoom didn't even kill Ninetales and 2 flamethrowers, losing a bunch of HP to Moonblast. Strangely, at that low HP, it makes Chinchino come in early, and I put an Aegislash to it. I didn't really have a great reason for this. I want to burn out the Aurora Veil. Then Chinchino missed Bone Rush, and I crit it with Iron Head to kill! Totally earned. Well, now I just want to Trick Room in front of Meloetta again, and hope that the Veil runs out soon. Slowbro faints again after a U-turn to Mismagian and its Moongeist Beam, and then Aegislash goes back out. It's her King Shield that gives me the last stall turn I needed. The Veil ends, then Iron Head shatters the Icy Ghost. I was damn hoping that Hariyama would beat Pirouette with close combat, but he should have faked out for Guts. He left it on a sliver and died to V-Create. Thank goodness its Life Orb took it down anyway, which leads into a Gardevoir that may or may not also be custom stats. I'm pretty sure that in this version of the game, this is a normal Gardevoir, but I've seen this fight in later versions, and Cass then has this Gardevoir. It's pretty badass looking, and it gets a decent power bump to post-pseudo levels. As for now though, one Iron Head can beat it, leaving us with one more, Lilligant. Yet again, this damn thing starts to troll me by surviving Iron Head and sporing Mawile, then Giga Draining, doing a Geomancy, then another Giga Drain to bring Mawile to 5 and nearly fully heal it, while of course Mawile slept the whole time. But Mawile awakens to crit a Sucker Punch, taking it down to a microscopic pixel, and we have a Shadow Sneak left on Aegislash to make damn sure Lilligant doesn't spore anything else. If you were paying close attention, then you might think that was the last developer in the room. But of course, there's one more. The one who started all this. When you talk to Cass, besides fight and chat, she has one more option. Ame. And that is who appears when you select that option. Of course, the rules of the dev room still apply, as Ame reminds us, she's still dead in canon. But never mind that. The final developer of the secret room is Ame, who has a ton to say. She says that she always likes to ask a lot to the devs of games she finishes, so she wanted to give that same respect to us. That involves giving us this many topics. Starting from the top, she clears up something right away. She doesn't like that she has a self-insert character. It is only something that came about because of the original league. But when the game came about, and the expectation started to be she'd be the secret villain or final champion, she absolutely hated it. So, she fixed the problem. The way you know how. Besides the in-game version of herself, the outside version of herself loves to develop games, and says if 11-year-old her, using RPG Maker, could make games, so can you. She's so happy that her desire to have a sustainable job making video games is something she got to do for Reborn, and is hopeful she can keep doing it, as long as it isn't a Pokemon game anymore. I feel that. Ame talks about how the Reborn community started, that it was in a Wi-Fi room when Pokemon Diamond and Pearl came out. She said that the community was only active in summer, dying during the school year, but each summer it would be Reborn. And as time went on, this community got bigger and bigger, and she has been so grateful to all those who stuck around. And that gets into what I touched on earlier, the original league. I have only the most surface knowledge of this subject, almost purely from what is said in this developer room, so please forgive however I dumb down this explanation inappropriately. To put it simply, it was a challenge Ame and eventually some friends hosted for that Wi-Fi server. She created it in the very beginning for her best friend, with the idea that it would be fun to fight gym leaders who could fight as well as real players. From that idea, she created an entire roster of trainers and their images and badges for each type. According to her, every one of those characters she created is in this game today. And this wasn't just an artistic endeavor. She put together and trained Gen 4 versions of the teams each leader would use. Then, she and her friend had a falling out, leading the project to being shelved. Years later, and the community started from a Wi-Fi server for Diamond and Pearl, even though the server itself died, the idea of Reborn was reborn. That's when the concept of the League first debuted, where she, alone, would roleplay each gym leader and battle challengers for their chance to earn that leader's badge. Eventually, the scope of the challenge grew, and others began to help Ame with it, such as New, who hosted a new server on Pokemon Online Simulator. At first, this was only meant for her friends, but when she launched the website for the community, random people began filing in to try it for themselves. This continued every weekday for years, and in that time, the leaders who Ame and her friends roleplayed began to develop character, backstory, and even in-world lore. Lore that would eventually be used as events in this game. Maria losing her memory and Luna disappearing, for instance, originated from this online league. The number of participants was incredible, but also ridiculously huge. After 6th Gen came out, this league was retired for good. Ame and the others simply couldn't keep up with it anymore. No matter what though, that league had some of her favorite times. This of course leads into the conceptualizing of the game itself. Ame says that she wasn't even the first one who tried to make a game about it. Others in the community threw some things together every so often, but none took off. She goes into how a mishap with a server she admin for led a user named Will to create lore behind it, saying how the wonderful server, or city, of Reborn fell into ruin at the hands of an evil organization called Team Meteor. Ame created this amazing picture of the region of Reborn based off that premise, here both colorized and black and white. I think that personally, this picture was one of the reasons I gravitated to Reborn so strongly, but even then, she had no intention of making a game. Then in 2012, a user named STK Patrick said he wanted to do it, saying he would use RPG Maker XP, and that changed everything. Ame, who was a massive aficionado of the RPG makers, heard this and beat him to it by making the first episode up through Julia's gym fight in 2 weeks. From that moment on, even though she believed the game would die like some other projects, the game plodded ever onward as Ame worked to incorporate everything that the online league and the community at large had created to house and immortalize all they had done and created together. It wasn't without hardship. Episodes beyond the first took much longer than 2 weeks, especially as Ame tried to incorporate far more quality into the releases, putting so much stress on her that her hands developed chronic pain. But despite how long it has taken to finish this passion project she began on a whim, she is proud both of the result and the people of the community. She says one thing that is so painfully true. It's literally the reason this series was even made. Not many games get the full attention and scope they deserve. 10 years working on one project that is this successful and amazing deserves the highest praise. She worked on the game alone for a while, until enlisting help after episode 13 when Autumn and Dan came in, the latter of whom was instrumental in getting Ame to try implementing the field effects system. She gives praise to Guhorden and Kurosune, the second of those being someone who found more people to assist in the project. 2 of those people were Mike and Marcello, then Smeargle and MDE to help with animations, along with Vulpes. She gives shoutouts to Azeri and Leah for helping with bug fixing, something that always needed doing. Kanaya was someone who helped immensely in many small ways, which she did with great reliability. Ikaru became her primary playtester, while Jan arrived, helping create some sprites while she helped him learn the ropes for his own game. Perry came in late, who, like I said earlier, created the mod for Battle Factory that was eventually incorporated into the main game. Krim was a late arrival too, who was also incredibly talented at mapping and spriting. Azzy was after that, helping to create the boatload of nightclub dialogue. And of course, there was Cass. She joined around episode 18 and was one of the most important members of her team, simply because she helped Ame keep it together in real life. She praises all of her work, especially that which has gone outside of Reborn to help fan games in general. She ends with several lessons. Try to learn everything you can, but know your limits, and how to let others help you. Don't make a giant epic game as your first project. I would extend that to video walkthrough series too. Know when to take breaks and heed your own health. Have fun. If you can have fun with your work, then you'll do it a lot, and therefore, you'll get better at it, and it'll snowball from there. With that, we have one more battle for the series. Sorry, Ame, I know what you said at the beginning of your section, but you're the final opponent of this series after all. League Manager, Champion, and Lead Developer, Amethyst. Funnily enough, Ame may actually have the most fair full team in this dev room, a team which is identical to the one she used in the Celebi quest. That means it starts once again with Alolan Ninetales. It leaves the field with an Aurora after taking 2 flamethrowers from Houndoom, and her Gardevoir is next. Unfortunately, it's Mega Gardevoir this time, and Slowbro does not survive Boom Burst. Houndoom has to come back already in Destiny Bond, the Pokemon named after the one word that describes Reborn's atmosphere. Then Drampa is met by the second Mega Evolution, Lopunny. Drampa is punched the fuck out, but Mawile can get in and take one attack stage away to then play rough and toss it aside. But this is going to end at the flippers of a Primarina again. Vanillix tried, but his freeze dry did only a quarter because that damn Veil was still around. After that, Mawile can't take the steam eruption, and of course, no way Camerupt does either. As I said, Ame's team doesn't crush you as badly as some of the devs like to, and on attempt 3, we have this match. Ninetales is defeated the same, then Drampa is sacrificed in order for Houndoom to get rid of Gardevoir again. Now Slowbro finds her in against Sylveon, whose Moonblast doesn't kill her. To add to that, she uses Brick Break just to break the Aurora Veil and open up the rest of this fight. Mawile enters, headbutts down Sylveon, lets Vanillix soften up Primarina with one final clutch critical freeze dry, then beat the seal with Iron Head as well. A Whimsicott is next, and can only prankster Leech Seed before meeting the same fate as the other fairy types, leading to the final Pokemon, Mega Lopunny. Play rough, does not miss. And that is every developer boss and every major battle in Pokemon Reborn. Amethyst and team, thank you for the work that you put in for all these years, for bringing to light the magic your community made so that others could experience it. May all of your future endeavors be even more successful. Sometimes, a story ends after you've spent so long with it that you can't help but feel empty. You were a character in this story too. This was your home for a time. Now, it's time to depart. But the story never dies. It will stay with you always, a memory to share with as many people as possible. A memory to take with you to your next story. There's one last thanks I have to give, and that's to you. Thank you all so much for watching.